What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another tier list video. So last time we did a MCU tier list, and I think for the most part you guys seem to like that, so I figured I would do this again, but with because it seems to be equally as ever growing as the MCU. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it, get it ranked. Same oh god, what is the fucking word? Same rubric, I guess? Same rubric as last time. So the first one up. Oh, Jesus. Why did I put that one first? Okay, The Last Jedi. So, listen, there's so many angles of opinions about this movie, a million arguments that you could make, that have been made, so I'm just not gonna get into it. It's a very controversial movie for obvious reasons. I personally was not one of the people that enjoyed it. Definitely not one of the people that thought it was an okay idea to send anyone death threats, because that's fucking ridiculous. Did not enjoy basically any of the ideas or the story for this movie. It wasn't for me. I didn't appreciate it. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It didn't feel like Rian Johnson had a good understanding of Star Wars. I can appreciate what he was going for. I will say it's definitely one of the most well-made Star Wars movies in the entire franchise. Cinematography is absolutely beautiful. I appreciate the way the story is told. I just don't think it's good as a Star Wars movie. It could be so much more of a mess. It's just that a lot of the character choices I think are incredibly disrespectful. Then we have Revenge of the Sith, right up to A tier. You know, if you'd asked me a while ago what I thought about this movie, I might have said S tier, but I just rewatched it recently, a couple times actually, and it's great. It's definitely one of the best and most exciting Star Wars movies in the franchise. There's a lot that goes on, and I like how it completes the trilogy in a nice way. It wraps everything up. Well, not everything, but most everything. It finishes Anakin's arc in a really satisfying way. But there are still obviously things that hold it back, and a lot of criticisms that basically anyone can make about any movie in the prequel trilogy. Then we have Attack of the Clones. This one I've been debating for some time. I think honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and go C tier. It's really bizarre to me that people consider this one of the worst movies of all time. I get it's kind of chaotic in the way that the story is told. I get that, you know, structurally, maybe it's not set up the best. The romance, which is arguably the main focus of the story, is not great. None of those scenes are good in my opinion. So I get why people don't like it, but the worst movie ever made? I don't think so at all. I think there's a lot of redeeming qualities about this movie and a lot that holds it back. I think it's definitely not, you know, an equal balance, but it's not terrible. Whoops, why the fuck do I always move this shit? Alright, then we have the Clone Wars movie. That one is also going up to C tier. It's really interesting. Fuck, why the fuck do I always do that? It's really interesting to me that people really, for the most part, from what I've seen, really don't like this movie at all. I can understand why, because this movie is like heavily, you know, targeted at kids, which Star Wars movies always have been, but this one like really is like next level. And the switch from, you know, the main series of movies to the animation can be a little bit jarring. So those two things together, I can understand why it's hard to watch. Plus the story was a little lackluster. It felt like for a Star Wars movie, it does seem a little bit lacking, but I do like how a lot of the characters are handled. I like the vision of this one. I like how it feels refreshing, but I also agree that there is a lot holding it back, so C tier it is. Moving on, we have Solo, and that is our first S tier. I just recently watched this movie for the very first time, and I loved it. I avoided it for so many years because of what I heard about it. You know, I'd been told that it answers so many questions that nobody wanted the answers to, and it just kind of ruins Han Solo as a character. So for my own sake, I kind of just steered clear of this movie and tried to hear/learn about as little as possible. But yeah, after the Book of Boba Fett, I found myself really craving more Star Wars content. So I was like, you know what? This is one of the few movies that I still haven't watched yet. Let's go ahead and do it. The story was as engaging as it could have been. There were a lot of things that I liked. And off the top of my head, not really a lot that I disliked. I think every single actor in this movie really brought something to the table. Here's the thing about me. I have ADD. When I'm watching a movie, I hardly ever sit through the entire thing. Maybe if I go and see it in the movie theater, but if I'm just watching something on like Netflix or Disney Plus or anything like that, I will pause the movie halfway through, 20 minutes in, it doesn't matter. I'll like stop it and go do something else and then come back to it probably like 2 weeks later, just because I don't have the attention span. I don't have the patience to sit through an entire movie. This is the first one in probably a couple years where I've sat through the entire thing, engaged the entire time, and I absolutely do not regret watching it. I really enjoyed it. Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Ooh, I'm gonna go ahead and bring that to S tier. I've been really debating whether or not I was gonna put that in S or A, and I think it's just fair to put it in S. There was so much work put into this show, and it really shows. There are a lot of hit or miss stories throughout the series, but when it gets good, it gets really good. Arguably the peak of Star Wars, I think. And I think the only reason that they get so much love now is because of this show. I think a huge amount of the credit goes to Dave Filoni and every single person that helped to make this show as good as it was. Next, we have A New Hope. Honestly, A tier. I really wanted to put that in S tier. Honestly, maybe that'll change, but it's definitely a classic. The story is so simple. I just love the ragtag group. I just love how everything plays out. And it's so simple, it's so intimate, it's so heartfelt, it's so nostalgic. I love it. The only thing that I don't like is how long it follows C-3PO and R2 in the desert. Oh my god. That and Return of the Jedi. It's just that fucking, it's always droids in a desert, and I don't know why we can't just speed that up. Why was George Lucas so obsessed with that? It's so irritating. Rogue One. Now, I realize I'm about to piss so many people off, and I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. All right, next up we have The Force Awakens. This might surprise some people, but D tier. It's really well made. However, again, this does not feel like Star Wars to me. It feels like generic, cheap action blockbuster. This movie made like $1 billion, right? It feels like it was intricately designed to do that. When I watch anything from the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy, I feel the heart in those films. They're not the most well made. They don't have the best CGI. There are some story points, dialogue, all that shit. You can critique any of it. They all have immense flaws, but one thing that you cannot deny is that there is heart and love and passion put into those movies. This feels like a passionless shell. It feels like fan service the movie. Empire Strikes Back. That's an S tier. Do I need to explain this? Next we have Return of the Jedi, and that's going to B tier. This movie I feel like suffers a lot from not having good rewatchability. Everything from R2 and C-3PO walking through the fucking desert for like 7 hours. Again, that's so boring to watch. And Jabba's palace, the Ewoks, and all that stuff, I feel like it just dwells a little bit too long. Originally, the whole Endor stuff was not supposed to happen, and it was just supposed to go straight from Jabba's palace to the Empire stuff, and I feel like the movie would have been a lot better if they just stuck to that. Next, we have Star Wars Resistance. I have not seen that. I don't really know that I want to. Alright, Star Wars Rebels. Now, for the longest time, I hated the show, especially when it started up. I was like, why would they cancel Clone Wars for this? I really tried to give it a chance. I really tried multiple times, and it really just didn't do it for me. But, you know, going back and seeing it now, I'm still making my way through season 3. So far, I'm liking it, not my favorite. I'm willing to give that a C tier. Phantom Menace. I'm gonna give that a B tier too. I really do like the Phantom Menace. It's one of the movies I remember watching over and over and over again on VHS. It feels so refreshing. It feels like a great way to set everything up. Liam Neeson is very, very likable as Qui-Gon. Darth Maul, he never really did much for me in this movie, but he's still a cool antagonist. Next up, we have The Mandalorian. That's immediately going to S tier. Perfect way to revive the franchise. Then we have The Bad Batch. I want so badly to put this one in S, but I can't. So A. Absolutely peak animation. It's so beautiful. It's so well put together. The only reason that it's not an S is because I feel like this really suffers from just repetitive storytelling. There were like 3 plots that got constantly reused. It's like one episode, Hunter and Omega are not on the same page. They need to get on the same page. By the end of the episode, they're on the same page. The next episode, Hunter and Omega are on the same page, but he still doesn't want to risk her getting hurt now that they are on the same page and he's attached. She goes out of her way, disobeying orders to join the fight and help them. He respects her for it. Then they're on the same page again. Next episode, Omega's lost. We gotta find Omega. By the end of the episode, Omega's found, and the attachment between Omega and Hunter is even greater. The next episode, Hunter and Omega are not on the same page. The Rise of Skywalker. It's really unfortunate. F tier. It feels like every single person in this movie was phoning it in. Like the actors don't feel like they give a shit, and I don't blame them at all. The story, clear they didn't give a shit about that. Rey being a Palpatine, Rey calling herself Skywalker at the end, Finn just kind of shouting Rey like he always does. It feels awkward because it's kind of trying trying to wrap up a trilogy where nothing really significant happened. It just feels like such an awkward conclusion. I just can't bring myself to care. This movie's just horrible. I don't want to watch it ever again. Star Wars Visions. I saw like the first 3 episodes, I think, and I really liked them. I just have not gotten back to it yet, so I don't want to judge the whole thing based off of just 3 episodes that I saw. And last but not least, we have the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know. I didn't get a lot of the criticisms. I enjoyed it. It definitely wasn't the best thing ever. It's kind of hit or miss in a lot of places. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a B tier. Okay, and super last minute, the finale of Kenobi just aired at the time of recording this, so last minute tacked on Kenobi B tier. So there's my list, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you agree, disagree with. Let me know if you think I put something in the wrong place. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, all that bullshit, and I will see you guys next time.